Hello, I'm Demi Utley, the founder here at Utley Strategies, and today I'm going to share with you my biggest proposal horror story and what you can learn from it so you don't make the same mistake. So my proposal horror story started on a random November Wednesday many, many years ago. And on this day, I learned that a rainy day in Vegas is not the same as a rainy day in the Midwest or probably anywhere else in the country. So on that particular Wednesday, it was the due date for the largest proposal that I had worked on at the time, which was estimated to be about $20 million a year for up to 5 years. So it was a total of potentially $100 million. So it basically was a lot of money and a lot of work. At that point, we had spent about 2 months straight working exclusively on this proposal. And the team included myself, another proposal writer, about 3 sales reps, countless technical engineers, 2 partners, one of whom was for products and one for services. Essentially, it was a giant proposal with a lot of moving pieces. By that point, we had also already had a moment of panic when the original due date neared with only half of our content written. Thankfully, it was extended by a week, so it gave us some breathing room. We spent that extension writing and rewriting our content, holding different review meetings for key sections, strategizing on our pricing approach, and of course, signing on the dotted line for the at least 10 forms that we had to fill out because it was a government proposal. Once we received the final approval for this proposal, we went through and printed out our one original, 8 copies, hole punched every single page, put it into binders, package it up into our FedEx box, which was sealed, dropped it into the shipping box so it would arrive at 10 a.m. the next day, which was about 4 hours before the deadline. When I arrived to work that Wednesday, my teammate had already sent me at least 5 frantic emails informing me that the package was delayed because it rained in Vegas that night. Okay, cool. It rained in Vegas. What does that mean? I didn't understand the significance of this. Then she told me that that meant that the package was delayed and it wasn't scheduled to go out until Thursday, because the whole city was shut down. So that meant that our potential $100 million proposal was delayed because of a downpour and it would miss the deadline. It was scheduled to arrive the next day. So of course we started freaking out. We contacted anyone and everyone we could who could help us to figure out the situation. Thankfully, we discovered there was a local team member who was on the account and was willing to deliver the proposal. But there was one issue, and that was that FedEx would not release the package to him. By that point, we had every manager and director in our department on the phone with FedEx trying to authorize the package, but we were running out of time because the deadline was approaching and we needed a backup plan. So we decided to print the entire proposal at a local print shop so he could go and pick it up, package it, sign it, and then drop it off to the customer. At 1:35 p.m., he informed us that he had the proposal in hand and he was on the way to the customer. We were anxiously awaiting for all of the updates. Every single time I got an email, I was checking it, hoping it was from him, but none of them were. 2 p.m., the deadline arrived, and there was still no update. My teammate started messaging me, asking if there were any updates. Of course, there were not. Then at 2:15 p.m., we got an urgent invite from him, inviting everyone on the team to join the call. By the time I hopped on, there was already angry shouting and some probably choice words on that line as well. We discovered that they would not accept the package. He got there at 2:03 p.m. They said it was too late and they would not accept it. He tried to explain the circumstances that, the weather caused the delay. It was scheduled to arrive on time. He was there at 2:03. It was only 3 minutes. Could they please accept it? But they just refused. They had 4 packages that had arrived the day before. They were going to use those proposals and they were not making any exceptions. Of course, at this point, my stomach is completely dropping. I just thought of all of the hours that we had spent, perfecting our proposal, our pricing, our approach. And that meant it was all wasted. Our $100 million opportunity went down the drain with all of the surplus rain in Vegas that day. Later that day, we learned that 15 other proposals also arrived at 4:30 p.m. on a different shipment, which included our original proposal as well. But the customer returned all of them completely unopened. They refused to accept any of them and only evaluated the 4 that had originally arrived. I still cringe when I think about this and what happened with that proposal. It was rejected for being 3 minutes late, which seems so arbitrary, but I did learn a critical lesson that day. And that is when submitting hard copies, always, always, always make sure there is enough time. I personally always mail at least 2 days before the due date. If it's international, of course, allow more time. Make sure that you have enough time for it to get there. Make sure you choose the right date, just in case if there's any sort of issue. I know a lot of proposal teams want to work up until the deadline because it's the deadline. So of course you want to take advantage of all the time that you have. There's always something else that can be tweaked. There's a new way you can present information. Maybe there's someone else who maybe can approve and review the proposal. But when you're up against that deadline, decide if it's worth it, if that tweak is worth losing that opportunity, or if you really need one more person to review it. We know that if we had actually submitted the proposal, we would have been invited to the next round and very likely would have won this contract. But it was never reviewed, so we never had that shot. So if you're considering waiting until the last minute on your proposal, definitely learn my lesson and give yourself some extra time. Don't go up right until the deadline. Another thing I just want to mention is this also applies to electronic submissions as well. Portals can go down, emails can bounce, your internet could go out, all of these technology issues can happen. So I personally always make sure I can submit the electronic proposal a day before, just in case I encounter any of these issues, because I do not want this to happen again. I wanted to share with you that is my biggest proposal horror story. I still cringe when I think about it. It's just so sickening to think about that. But definitely learn from my mistake and give yourself plenty of time. If you have a proposal horror story or you just want to share something crazy or proposal related that's happened to you, feel free to include it in the comments. And in the meantime, I'll create more videos with more proposal tips and tricks, and I'll see you in the next video.